Today, we're going to make the best kale ever. You ready? And to do that, we're going to enlist one of my favorite things to cook of all time. In essence, we're going to make a chicken consommé and turn that beautiful curly kale into a sponge that absorbs all the chicken goodness. So, very simple. Breast meat here, the rest goes here. Break down the chicken. And of course, the smaller you cut the bird, the easier it is, the faster it is to cook. And to maximize flavor extraction, we're going to cook everything in a pressure cooker. One of the few occasions where it doesn't matter where the oyster goes. Even though we're making a consommé, I still like to have the chicken fat in the cooker. They actually add a lot of flavor to the broth. And then, before we clean the broth, we can skim them out quite easily. Pull, even thigh, we'll cut them up just to maximize flavor extraction. Open up the leg a bit. I mean, if you've been following me for even a week, you know any excuse to cut up a chicken. Perfect. The wings, extremely flavorsome. Wing drum takes the skin with them, and the breast we save, and we're going to use it to clear the broth. And for this, we don't want the fat. And the loin, break the carcass, and like every single chicken stock recipe I have, the optional scallion and the mandatory ginger. Save this one for later. Now, we practically mince our chicken breast, and this will help us clarify the soup and turn it into a consommé. This whole dish is inspired by a Chinese cabbage recipe where they literally cook a chicken consommé and cook the Chinese cabbage in it. I thought, well, why not kale? Of course, this is a fun dish, not how you should be cooking your kale all the time. To be honest, my favorite way to enjoy kale is a salad, but I'm not gonna waste your time on how to make a kale salad. So here we are. Kind of sums up the channel. Unnecessary cooking. All right, once they look like chicken mince, we set this aside and leave it in the fridge for now. Now, we make the consommé. There are thousands of ways to make consommé. This is just how I like to do it. So, very simple, cold pan, cold water. We try to cover most of it. A generous amount of salt. And we bring this to a boil. To be honest, if you would just cook the whole thing and clarify it with egg white, it would look almost as good. But I feel like making a clear broth is more about the ritual than the end product. So, why not? I'm just moving it around so the bottom doesn't catch. So you can see the heat is pushing out two things from the chicken. One, what seems to be like blood, but it's actually myoglobin. And two, it'll also push out the protein that'll float to the top, which in Asian cooking is commonly referred to as the scum. Neither are unhealthy, but again, getting rid of them is a part of the clear broth ritual. Now, once this is boiling, you want to turn the heat down to medium and give it about 5 minutes, during which, if you don't have a huge enough pot, move them around so that to make sure that everything's been properly blanched. Now, after 5 minutes, this is what we have. Now, we switch off the stove and we pour out all the liquid and run this under cold running water. The chicken is ready for the pressure cooker. Simply add all the chicken pieces back to the cooker. You still want to form an evenish layer, just because the less water you have to add to cover everything, the more concentrated the flavors will be at the end. You can add a fresh round of ginger and scallion as well. Season once again with salt and cover with water. Now, we bring this back to a boil. All right, once this is back to a boil, we proceed with Operation Skimming Off the Scum. As you can see, when they cook, they shrink down a tiny bit. So even though initially it seemed like I didn't add enough water, now I know everything's going to be submerged without unnecessary dilution of flavors. Once the so-called scum has mostly disappeared, we bring pressure to the pressure cooker. And once we've brought this to pressure, we cook it for at least an hour to maximize the flavor extraction. And after an hour, we'll come back, clarify the broth, and turn that beauty into a sponge. I'll see you then. All right. After an hour and half an hour for the pressure to come down naturally, we have this beauty. Oh my god, beautiful. Smells incredible. Now, to avoid splashing, we're going to fish out all the chicken pieces. I mean, they're practically on the verge of disintegrating. Perfect. New pot. And we pass everything through a sieve. Now, we bring some heat back to help us skim off the fat. For flavor, it's really important to keep the fat during the pressure cooking. And this, of course, you can save it, cook some rice. That would be incredible. Look at this beautiful, bright yellow color. Exactly what you want for Hainanese chicken rice. Of course, if you want to go the extra mile, leave this in the fridge overnight, come back tomorrow. But I think I've overcomplicated things enough for one recipe. Perfect. Now, as you can see, thanks to our earlier efforts, this is already a pretty clear soup. Now, we're going to clarify it further. So, here we have the minced chicken breast that we saved earlier. To that, we're going to add 3 egg whites. And we mix vigorously. Brilliant. Now, we move our stock clockwise and we add our chicken mixture. We mix vigorously. Now, we let the protein do its magic and we keep it at a bare simmer for half an hour while we deal with the kale. So, with our beautiful kale, very simple. First, we take just the leaves with a pair of scissors. The stalk is way too chewy for most recipes. Perfect. Now, to turn this from okay looking green to magazine cover worthy green, we have a pot of boiling water, a pot of ice water. And to this, we're gonna add a generous amount of salt. Once this is boiling, kale in. It's very important that you don't cover the lid and you keep moving them to cook them until they've softened. Look at the color change, it's incredible. And suddenly it doesn't look like too much kale, huh? Now, once they've all softened and they're still bright green, stove off and into the ice water they go to stop the cooking immediately. Now, after it's ice cold, we drain it and we take it for a spin. Now, we take the kale and we squeeze out all the excess liquid. The more you squeeze, the more chicken stock they will be able to absorb. Now we grab a sieve and we let them chill here until our consommé is ready. After 40 minutes, we have this clear beauty. Now, I've lined a sieve with a piece of cheesecloth and now we pass everything through the cheesecloth carefully. Oh, look at this beautiful color. I joke about processes being therapeutic, but this really is. You can't rush it, you have to be patient, and it's extremely rewarding. Now, how fun was that? To finish this crazy dish, we take another pot, we add the beautiful kale. Imagine in the beginning, we had a huge bowl. Now we have a tiny bowl, and now some kale magic. For all the liquid we squeezed out, all the space we've made, we're now replacing that beautiful space with our beautiful consommé. Now, we bring this to a simmer and we treat this like a risotto. Slowly, we let the kale absorb this beautiful chicken goodness. Beautiful. And just like risotto rice, as they absorb, they expand. You taste for doneness. Oh wow, this is incredible. Wow. Now, in the traditional Chinese cabbage recipe, they then steam this in the steamer with fresh broth for another 30 minutes. But we worked so hard to achieve this beautiful textbook green color that I'm reluctant to do that. So, we drain off what is now a cloudy liquid. So, we're ready to plate. Textbook, beautiful, beautiful kale. And of course, we ladle some fresh consommé. And that's it. To paraphrase Robert Kennedy, who was quoting someone else, I forgot his name. Some men see blanched kale as they are and say why. I dream blanched kale that never were and say why not. This is my ultimate blanched kale. I really hope you enjoy. Oh, where's my wine? Well, we can drink this.